Hi viewers and possible sponsors, thank you for tuning in. My name is Lisette Darnell and my partner Bobby Russell and I would like you to support us in researching how effective internet-facilitated peer support interventions work with helping people that are struggling with alcohol abuse and achieve and maintain their sobriety. The reason that Bobby and I chose to do research on this is because technology has become a big part of our society and is being used more and more often to implement programs. So the focus of this paper is how effective is the combination of internet intervention with peer support when treating people with alcoholic addiction disorders. Prior research has shown that internet-delivered interventions have been very effective, and there has also been research on how peer support intervention has been effective. However, both of these programs still have barriers. The fact is that approximately 85% of problem drinkers do not seek help. This can be from common barriers such as loss of anonymity, stigma for attending. They're isolated in small communities, so their geographic area. The cost of attending, be it the travel time or time away from work, and the commitment it takes to be in such programs. The problem is that there's very little, if any, research that combines the intervention of peer support with internet-delivered interventions. And that is why Bobby and I wanted to try to combine these two interventions into one to increase the effectiveness of each individual intervention to be even more successful than they would be on their own. This research project can benefit the social work field in many ways. First of all, this research will evaluate the effectiveness of the combination of these two interventions. If it doesn't, it could at least build on the field of what works, what doesn't work, what variables are affecting the effectiveness. It can allow for an increase of the population being served with this type of intervention, seeing that it's not limited to one geographic area, but that the internet is a worldwide network and allows for people in small communities and distant places to participate, and the cost can be a lot lower if this program does work. To be clear, our research question is, what is the effectiveness of internet-facilitated peer support groups when it comes to achieving and maintaining sobriety? It is our anticipation that this intervention of the combination of peer support and internet intervention will actually lower the audit scores to our participant and to increase higher levels of abstinence through the internet-facilitated peer support group intervention. The audit is a test that we will use to kind of gauge how productive and how successful our participants are in the program, and this will be the dependent variable. The acronym IFPSG, which is a symbol for Internet Facilitated Peer Support Group, is going to be our independent variable. That'll be the intervention that we'll be using throughout the 6-month program that these participants will be a part of. And it's going to be our assumption that this program will be successful, that the dropout rate will decrease, that access to treatment will increase, and that there will be longer levels of sobriety and abstinence because of this intervention. This type of research is going to be based on an evaluative research method We are choosing this type of research to see what the impact is of the internet facilitated peer support group has on these adults that are struggling to maintain and attain their sobriety from alcohol consumption within a period of 6 months. The other thing is that we are going to use a method of post-test comparison group experiment design. That's a mouthful. But we thought that this would be the best way to get a real experimental design with having one control group and one experiment group, and each of those groups having a pre-test and then consistent tests within the program, and then one at the very end that we can evaluate and compare the two groups with. The quantitative measure that we're using in our research is the audit. The audit is also an acronym for Alcohol Use Disorders Identification Test. The audit is a scale that assesses alcohol consumption, drinking behaviors, and alcohol-related problems. It consists of 10 questions relating to the number of standardized drinks consumed. The score of 8 or more on the audit is going to indicate harmful drinking patterns that need to be addressed. These scores from this test will give us the information we need to see how successful our program is. Our target population of study is adults that are struggling with alcohol abuse. It is our aim that we have a sample size of 100 male and female adults that have internet access, live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and have entered the outpatient treatment program that's been provided by the Right Step organization. The approach that we are going to use to attain our sample will be a mixed sampling approach. First off, we will use a convenience sampling approach, and this is done through the Right Step organization. They will conveniently be providing us participants from people that enter their program. Secondly, since they are an organization of 6 separate treatment centers throughout the Metroplex, we will be getting participants from those 6 centers, which will then give us a cluster sampling approach. At this point, when we're looking at our large sample of clusters, we want to, lastly, pick people by random selection from those 6 groups to either enter the control group or the experiment group. In this way, we are using convenience sampling, cluster sampling, and random selection to make up our mixed sampling approach. When it comes to measurement, we're only going to use one measurement, the audit. This will be self-administered, and it has been proven to be valid. It's a standardized measure, and its validity has been determined by the World Health Organization in 1989. The audit also has a reliability alpha of 0.85, which is very good. Now, this measure will be given to our participants during intake, which will be our pre-test. Then at every 30 days of our participants being in our program, they will take the audit. And then lastly, at the very end, they'll take their post-test. Once completing 180 days, the audit will be taken for the last time to complete all the measures we will be taking for the research project. Now, like in most studies, there's limitations. The limitations that we foresee as possible to our research project is that we can't generalize the results to a larger population, that the results may be affected by the fact that our participants are motivated by entering outpatient treatment, that self-selection is part of their enrollment, which can cause bias participants to the program. That our area that we're researching is a smaller area, and that the possibility of people dropping out within the 6-month program is likely. The other two things that can cause limitations to this project is that these assessments and tests that are being completed are self-reported and can be construed depending on how honest the person is. And the last thing is that there could be some outside social influences that can affect the results of their test as well. To conclude our research proposal, it is our anticipation that this intervention will lower audit scores, help to attain higher levels of abstinence, increase social support, and also make treatment more accessible. The findings to the results of this research can also help in developing new intervention strategies, also build community recovery, bringing communities together for recovery. And lastly, what comes of these results can also help enhance the social work field in gaining better understanding to this type of intervention and what works in helping this population.